let's see. Let's see who accepts the stream. Twitch has accepted the stream.
Yay.
YouTube has accepted the stream.
Okay.
The world has really gotten beyond me.
Facebook has accepted the stream. Now I can give you the link.
Okay.
Let's see here. Where are you?
Are you sending it to me through Facebook or email?
I
or
was
DM?
gonna. Facebook Messenger is the easiest for me. Is that
Okay.
okay with you?
It's fine. I just need to know what little thing to look at.
All right. Where are you? Here you are.
And then you don't have Chanel. She's new. And you don't have David or John. Do you have a Facebook page?
I do.
Okay. You have one? Okay. We'll send you the link. And ultimately it'll go up on YouTube. And you can share the YouTube link too.
Also, though, you can say something on Facebook, and not all your friends will see it. Only a handful. And who decides?
Meta.
Yeah.
I wrote a scathing letter to Meta the other day because it decided to update my Topography of Women page. When they update, unbeknownst to me, when I went to my Topography of Women page, all my stuff was gone.
Oh.
I have video clips. I had ads that I paid for that I can't follow up for this show. I had photos. I mean, it was my Topography of Women page. Why would you bother my page? I'm just a little page, 900 followers. Why are you bothering my page? Well, you can't talk to anybody Facebook on the phone. If you call Facebook on the phone, you get a recorded message. Then you have to go to Meta Business. Then you have to go, because I said, I want my stuff back. I didn't ask you to update my page. Why would you? Give me my stuff back.
Sorry about the tapping.
They're fixing your porch, right? I was running late, as you all know. I was prepared to zoom in the driveway, and I got here, and I said, there's a car in the driveway. So now I'm illegally parked, just so I know.
Okay, so if you check your Facebook Messenger, you'll find the link to promote today's show.
Okay. Yeah, there's the share. Oh, it comes with the image. Yay.
And then you can share it with your guests.
Okay. How come I don't have a send all?
Don't know.
Yeah. I want public. I guess I'm gonna have to copy the link.
Mr. Windsor,
I'm gonna have to do the rest of it when I get home
what does this mean, streams?
because I'm
Let's get
working.
rid of it.
Oh, here we go. Public. Yeah. I'm working on a phone that Pebbles Flintstones used to have. So. All right.
Let's put in starting soon.
I'll
Let
match
me
you.
know. Let me know when you're all shared up. All right.
I wasn't getting the thing, so I sent to a couple people that popped up. I couldn't get a. So I might have to send it. It's not going to show as a live, which I'm crabby. But
What were you just pointing at, Tom?
I said, what do you have a problem?
I was curious if it was going to say that. What do you think he means by that? So what's the answer? I would say probably brown. Okay, they all get used. Brown gets used the least. Those are open. So we're gonna use one of those for Alexa, right? So since we already have a microphone, we just have to go on the cable. Ready? Show me what you got. You got talk at the top. They're notifying other friends.
Did you send,
we're ready when you are.
Okay, you're ready. Okay.
did you send the message? 'Cause I don't get it.
Okay.
Now you will notice there is a countdown at the top of the screen.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to start the countdown, and when it says on the air, you're on the air, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
Good evening, everybody, or good afternoon, depending on where you are in your day. My name is Celeste Lawson. I'm here at Think Twice Radio, made possible by our good friend Richard Wicker. I'm here. This is part 2 of our discussion about The Whale Speaks. The Whale Speaks is an upcoming production that's going to happen on Saturday, August the 5th at Shea 710 Theater. Starts at 7:30. Get there early. You can have a great parking place and get a great seat. This production is making a social statement, a fun and entertaining and enriching, but social statement just the same about climate change and the influence of the oceans and sea mammals on the very air that we breathe. I have with me 3 guests who are 3 actors from our area that have done great things in the community, and you will enjoy seeing them on stage as well. You can't tell, but I'm going to go to my left. Can you see me up here? To my left is John Vines, a very fine actor, who you'll hear him speak as Moby Dick. Next to him is David Landry, a poet whose voice you will hear as Captain Ahab. And next to him, you can see her, the very lovely Chanel Tillery, who plays the goddess Yemaya, mother of all ocean, seas, and everything that goes along with that. So we'll talk a little bit about our guests, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the project itself and the statement that it's making about the influence, positively, I should say, positive influence sea mammals and the oceans have on our environment, in particular on the air that we breathe. So I'll go first to John. John, tell us a little bit about you and your work as an actor, and what made you decide to join the project.
Well, thank you for having me today, Celeste.
Glad to be here.
I was born and raised in New York City, the Bronx to be exact, where I started studying theater when I was in my 20s. So I did some work down in New York City, but then I actually moved to Buffalo in 2008. So I've been here about 15 years, where I've done productions at Subversive Theater, Paul Robeson, and Road Less Traveled. And most recently, I was in the Road Less Traveled production of Sweat. It was a great run. We had a great experience. It was a great cast. And now I'm here working with you and this great cast. I decided to join. You asked me if I was available to do the work, and I was like, sure. I had never worked with you or Topography of Women before, so it's a great opportunity to learn more about what you were about and what the organization is about. And so that's why I said yes.
Yes.
And being able to voice Moby Dick, I mean, who wouldn't want to do that, right? So, yes, I jumped at the opportunity.
And it was a great. And I had to tell you, John is here by virtue of fate and serendipity. A really good friend, longtime childhood friend of mine, Ari Moore, was having an opening at El Museo Gallery on 91 Allen Street. And I went in to support the gallery and Ari, and I was complaining because the initial longtime friend that I was going to have as Moby Dick, we realized he lived way too far away. We were having some kind of moment in time where we thought, oh, yeah, you could drive 2 hours there and 2 hours back every day for rehearsal, duh. And so I thought, oh, how am I going to replace someone as sounding as wonderful? Walked in the door, and Ari was talking to John, and I was complaining. All he did was point to John. And John said hello, and that's all I needed was hello, right? Like in the movie, you had me at hello. What is it, right? It's like, there it is. So I was very pleased, and then learned that you had just come off your run at Sweat.
Right.
So thank you.
And thank Ari for introducing us. Because if
Yes.
it wasn't for her, where would we be?
Where
right?
would we be, right?
Right.
I'd still be whining. Right. So there you heard that the wonderful voice of Moby Dick. Next to him is scholar and poet David Landry, who's going to be Captain Ahab, his voice of Captain Ahab, and my association with David goes a long way back. But let's talk a little bit about you and what you've done and how we came to this point.
Well, I haven't ever been an actor.
Ah.
So this is just a great pleasure, and especially hearing all the others. This is a really good cast. But I read Moby Dick in my senior year in college, and my life became something else.
Mm-hmm.
And I taught it for 40 years, and a great moment actually happened. It doesn't fit this script, but we were in a class in 1970, and this young man listening to the discussion, and he said, "No, you've got it all wrong. You don't understand. Captain Ahab is a lover."
Oh, my.
Changed the discussion forever.
Yeah.
So, he's not a lover here.
No.
Although in the last scene, But it's just, I taught so many different courses that involved Melville, all of his work, Moby Dick in particular, and it was, what a blessing. I never had to think. I just did what happened.
What
And
happened?
And I taught at Buffalo State for 35 years.
Mm-hmm.
Taught 3 years in Turkey. Spent a year in England. And it just seems to me I've stumbled through my life into great things, and this is one of them.
Well, I'm certainly glad to have you. And I give you a little bit more backstory on this. I've known David over the years as a poet, a wonderful writer, and a mutual friend of ours, in fact, someone who really helped me with coming to terms with poetry in a public way, writer and poet Sherry Robbins. And Sherry's book, Or the Whale, because she's another one of these Melville enthusiasts, is a collection of poems that she wrote, one poem for every chapter in the book Moby Dick. And in her poems, they chronicle the life journey of a woman. So she had a different perspective already in her own collection of works. And we were invited to respond to some poems that Sherry had written in her book. And it was a event taking place at Talking Leaves on Main Street, who we all miss now.
Oh, don't we?
Yes, it's like, oh, come back. And we were asked to write these responses, and I was intrigued by the fact that Sherry had chronicled her series of poems based on the woman's life journey. And then I thought about the title of the book, Moby Dick. Moby Dick. But the whale doesn't say anything. Oh, right? Throughout the wonderful writing. I mean, Melville is beautiful and creative, ahead of his time, but the whale never has anything to say. I mean, the whale has the last word, right? Because everything goes at the Moby Dick's expense, right? I mean, at his action. But I decided that my whale was going to be a female voice. I wanted to speak for the whale. And considering where we were in these days and times, to address the fact that there's something here that we need to know. And I didn't really know until I started doing the research about the critical importance that whales play in our environment. And so I thank David for inviting me because I didn't know about it, right? And we were together at the workshop. And we'd already done or had moved into doing some other projects as a result of that with Jazz Composers Workshop and a few other things. So it was great, but it stayed with me. It stayed with me as a notion that I want my poetry to do something else, right? We think about poems being read in a program or at a podium, but I said I want my poems to go to work. I need them to go to work, and I want to use that opportunity to say something that's important. And so the grant that allowed me to do this from the MAP Fund only supported certain kinds of projects. They wanted a project that made a social statement. They wanted a project that was unique in its approach. They wanted a project that was going to look different and sound different. And that sort of, energized me into sort of coming up with this. Because I think it'll look different. It's going to sound different. And I brought some characters in there that are not in Melville, but are critical to the ocean. And that is the wonderful goddess Yemaya, goddess of all things wet and water. Rivers, oceans, seas, turtles, penguins, you name it. She was an extraordinary energy in culture in general. The South American, African cultures, Yemaya is like it. So I have a wonderful actor. Her name is Chanel Tillery, who has taken on the mantle or the cape of Goddess Yemaya. Thank you for being here, Chanel.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes, I am Chanel Tillery. I am, I am a performing artist. I have been a performing artist for well over a decade. I started off actually as a spoken word artist and a slam poet. I did that for a few years, simultaneously also doing theater, working with Paul Robeson, Ujima, and just different community theaters around Western New York. So as far as coming into this piece, I had just gotten off of working on my directorial debut at the at First Look Theater, and me and Celeste had communicated prior, and she said that she had a project, and she was explaining it to me. And when the way that she was explaining it, I was like, okay, I really, really hope that I can be a part of it, any part. honestly. And so when I was given the part of Yemaya, I thought that was also some type of serendipity because I had been kind of doing my own self study of that culture, the Orishas and things of that nature. And so Yemaya was the one of the last energetic deities that I kind of looked into a little bit. So for that to be a character and for that to be the offer, I was like, okay,
Wow.
yeah, this is meant to be. So I am very excited about being a part of this project, being part of this production. We have some great actors. We have a great director on board. So it's something that I think everybody will definitely enjoy.
Well, thank you. And come and see her. She gonna look sharp and she gonna talk bad. So she gonna work it. I think all the actors are. I mean, and I'm very proud and very pleased that the group that we have come on board, and very happy, Chanel. Thank you for accepting the invitation and being part of it. So, who are some of those other individuals? The Moby, MOBI now, is Mary Craig, and many of you know Mary Craig through. I mean, she's done a lot in the theater community. And in this, she is the great-great-granddaughter of the Moby Dick that you'll hear, the original Moby Dick. And she's got a whole different set of challenges facing her. She has a counterpart, a friend, who's a dolphin, and I've learned that whales and dolphins are partners in a lot of ways in the effort to survive and find hunting grounds and protect themselves. And that's also played by a veteran actor, well-known Joyce Carolyn. Ahab's great, I don't know how great she might be for
Three greats. I
three
think.
greats, right? Is played by Vernice Turner. And we know Vernice. Vernice is very active in the poetry community, in the music. I mean, she's here, she's there, she's everywhere, and she has been for a long time. And she's Captain Anya, and she's on the opposite end of the spectrum of where the original Ahab is. Ahab is about hunting and killing, and she's about preserving and protecting. So we've come to the other side of that. Carrie Kate Abel Smith plays Queenie on in the show, and I should say, shameless plug for Carrie Kate, July 29th, she's going to be doing a show at Bittersweet. But you see her there, and then you really want to see her on August the 5th in our show. So I'm just telling you, go see her and then be enthused and come buy a ticket. Joy Chimay is playing the character of Fatima. And a new star on the horizon, Sonia Angeli, is playing Isabella, who would be the storyteller and Ishmael. And these are really cool characters. And I have one young actor that I got to know through your project, Vernia Gavin, who is here supporting me and all the other actors. And she's delightful and really an asset, too. So we have a great group of stage performers. And there's also dancers, music. And in my next conversation about The Whale Speaks, those voices will be coming to you. But we have Robin Hibbert, who is the choreographer, Dominic Giambra, who is also choreographing for this, David Butler, who is one of the most creative people on the planet, who is doing sets for us, and Dan Haskin, who is a musician and poet. Part of our sound is to be unique, and it's going to be unique, and he's doing a great job with that. And then, of course, Nick Quinn, who we know, who does light design extraordinaire. So you'll like the show whether you like the words or not. It's going to be good. It's got a lot of features going for it. So again, I'm saying it's August the 5th. It starts at 7:30. It's at Shea 710. If you go to www.ticketmaster.com, buy a ticket. There's a phone number on the screen, 716-847-0850, and that is the box office direct at Shea's that can give you more information. Can't buy a ticket, but you get all the information that you need. And if you want to avoid paying the Ticketmaster fee, just take a trip down, get some lunch, something cocktail, buy your ticket at the box office. All right? So we appreciate that. So I've talked a lot about it. So I'll give you a teeny sampling of what you'll be able to experience when you come in and to see the show. So we'll share with you the opening statements. It's an exchange between the original Moby Dick and the original Captain Ahab, delivered by John Vines and David Landry.
I'd like to add too, because this all sounds very serious, but the play is pretty funny in many places.
It is pretty funny. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you know what, David, that's an important part, to let people know the subject is serious, and we want people to take action, but the goal here is to entertain.
Yeah, works.
Absolutely, to entertain and have you walk away feeling good about what kind of contribution could I make if I do just one thing, one small thing to contribute to the conservation and preservation of our environment. So thank you for bringing that up.
Well, shall we?
We'll go.
Okay. This is the first scene,
First scene.
and Captain Ahab, which is me, speaks. I'm coming for you, Moby Dick. You hear me? I'm coming for you.
Turn back, Ahab. Turn back, or you will feel the weight of your own harpoon. I will take you with me into the cold depths of the ocean.
I'm not afraid of you, Moby Dick. It is you who should fear me. Soon your meat will burn in my lamp as I write the words, the story of how my spear ended your wild attacks, how the ocean ran red with your blood.
You are the brute, Ahab. You are the crazed hunter railing against nature. I am your final destination. I am the dark tunnel that swallows you whole. You wish my demise, but I will deliver yours. Turn back, Ahab, or sail into the shadow of your death.
Well, and Moby Dick turned over that boat. The Pequod went down. And bunch of pieces. One little old boat was left with two little old people in it. And that's how Melville did his story. So as you can see, our Moby Dick is ferocious and our Captain Ahab is fearless. And I think from the literary point of view to know, that was inspired by a true story. Melville was himself on a whaling ship as a young man, and there was the experience with the whaling ship Essex out of New England that was indeed sunk by a whale. And there were other ships that, whales did some serious damage. So, as you can see, you hear our whale can turn over a ship. So make sure you find a way to come down Saturday, August the 5th. I'm going to ask now because we talked a little bit about Yemaya and her influence really in cultures around the world, in particular Latin America and the continent of Africa. And the power, she has power of fertility, she has protection powers. She's a person who is proud, vain. She's a warrior. She's a complicated character. And in this story, it was really actually my choreographer who said, Robin Hibbert, who said, well, if you're going to talk about the whales and sea life and the oceans, you got to talk about Yemaya. I thought, well, that's true. And because it's my story, I could put Yemaya in it, right? So we have, and she is a part of the wise counsel and direction for our heroine Moby, who is a child of Yemaya, who cherishes all of the creatures in the ocean. So I will ask Chanel to give us a sample of Yemaya.
Indeed. Yes, 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 I am Yemaya, mother to all the oceans, seas, rivers, lakes, you name it. If it's water, it belongs to me. So do all the creatures who live in them. Now, I'm usually put together than this. I'm actually very stunning. Can you tell? But these last few decades, I've had to work overtime, double time, trying to keep up with my children, and it takes a toll on the beauty regimen and wardrobe upkeep. Know what I mean? I love my kids. And like any mother, I want to keep them healthy and safe, but like all kids, they find ways to get into trouble and get into things they should not, you know? Lately, it ain't been easy. In fact, it's been a downright struggle. See, my kids are having really hard times, especially my beautiful and beloved whale and ocean children. And it's not their fault. The hard times have been going on for years now. And you heard that crazy Captain Ahab. He was determined to do away with Moby Dick out of pure vengeance. And we all know how that story ended.
And we all know how that story
all
ended. So, spoiler alert, our story doesn't end like that. But I'm not going to tell you how it ends. But our whale is different. We have Yemenia, and Melvin didn't have the luxury of Yemenia, but we do. And I'll go back to the original Moby Dick, and I'll ask David, when you talked about teaching Herman Melville and Moby Dick over the years, how do you compare it now to the way we think about the environment and to the way whaling was conducted?
Oh, every time I look at it, it's different.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest difference is what you're basically dealing with here is that there's a human level that most people didn't get at first. It was either Ahab was bad and the whale was good, or vice versa. And it's not that at all. It's about a whole complex situation where this man is being used by the owners, by the way, horribly abused. And of course he has his leg taken off, and now he's angry. He's more angry at the people who run the business than he is at the whale. But the whale's the only thing available to attack. So, yeah, he's crazy, of course.
Obsessed, right? We talked
Obsessed, yeah.
Yeah.
But it just seems now that people are reading it with a greater feeling of the community that it presents. So the book is being analyzed in so many different ways now, because people are feeling that sense of community that he captures, even in the midst of horror.
So, when we think about Melville, and Sherry's not here, and I
Yeah,
could
she
ask
should
her.
be.
Yeah, she should. I thought, to her way of being inspired by Moby Dick to write these poems chronicled as a woman's life. When you read Sherry's book, how were you feeling about that and her approach?
Oh, I thought it was wonderful. I wrote a blurb for it. But it was another opening that no one else had seen.
Yeah.
Suddenly you have a different voice, you have a different, because it was really considered a masculine novel, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's not just that.
Yes.
There's a whole myriad of human types involved. And many of the crew members are very sensitive people. The mates, they're all very complicated. They're all kind of ridden by the pressure of the captain of the ship and so forth. But it's wonderful to read now, go back as a scholar and look at what people are writing about it and thinking, you weren't saying that 25 years ago.
And you bring up a great point, David, I think, which is what I was thinking about in my characters. The Pequod, which is the book, the ship for the original Moby Dick, did have a fancy array of characters. And I wanted to try to have some of that array represented in my story. So, for example, my captain is Anya Ahab. My Fidela is Fatima. My Ishmael is Isabella. And I tried to make these counterpoints. Queequeg is Queenie. So, I was hoping to, through my own process, come up with these characters, understanding where they were, and how can we counterpoint them in this story to make them creative. As you say, they had this, my crew members were longtime friends, whereas the cast on the Pequod, they were not longtime friends. They were just sort of thrown together. So the relationships have expanded, and the first mate on the Pequod was John Starbuck, right? So the name of our ship is Starbuck, and I thought that was kind of cool. And I thought about the franchise Starbuck, right? If people don't know it, if you look at their logo, it's a mermaid, right? It's a mermaid. So whoever founded, the founders of Starbuck, they were connected with that northwest part of the country and the shore is well known for its whale watching opportunities, and so they were connecting to that as well. So I think it inspired me a way to again revisit Moby Dick, and I would encourage. When you look at the book Moby Dick and you see how thick it is, you go, "Oh Lord," it's forever. But it's fascinating. Melville was ahead of his time in a lot of different ways, and I appreciate the fact that he still has a literary influence today, and it's opened my eyes to the role of oceans and whales in a very different way, because before then it was classic and the whales were this. And here's what I know based on the research, and I'll tell people to look at that. If all the whales vanished today, we would all have to walk around with a mask on for our. We don't appreciate how much they contribute to the air. No whales, we got a problem walking around day-to-day breathing. We talk about the trees and the mangroves and the rainforest. We need to appreciate that every second breath we take is made possible through the life of a whale. And we don't think about it because we just breathe, right? You're alive, you breathe. You don't know where the breath comes. You don't care where it comes from. You just do. But there are things that impact that. And I think we learned some of that with the forest fires from smoke and smog coming down. So, these are things we connect with. So I know how thinking about Melville and the whales have influenced David and his scholarship over many, many years. And I asked John, do you have thoughts about the environment? Have thinking about the whales added anything or?
Yeah, well, I didn't know that fact, that whales contributed to our breathing, our air at all. So I'm starting to now dive into more research just to learn more about it. But for me, the reality of it is that we are all connected, right? We are really all one. There is no us versus them. And you hear that a lot in kind of church kind of thing, but when it comes to the environment and, everything that is a part of the environment, we are all connected. So what I appreciate about this play and being a part of it is just the socially consciousness of it. The audience will be entertained, but you'll also hopefully learn something as well and become more aware of the ocean and the trash that gets thrown into the ocean and landfills and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully it will open people's minds and hearts and consciousness to, we need to do better, humans.
Right.
We need to do better, humans. If we could treat marine life the same way we do like some of our pets,
We got it made, right?
we got it made.
Yes,
Right.
yes. And I appreciate that because these are things that we don't think about. Up until I was really doing the work and research on this project, I did not connect that magnitude of influence of our air that sea mammals have, and whales in particular. They had the ability individually to extract 33 tons. I don't know how much 33 tons is. It's a lot, right? Of carbon dioxide out, right? And the plankton that they fertilize contributes to at least 50% of the quality of the air we breathe. That's a lot because we're talking about the world. We're not talking about North America versus South America versus Australia. We're talking the world. And ideally, we're finding a way to give homage to that reality. That's what I would like to think.
And we're seeing the effects, or we've been seeing the effects of what humans are doing to the planet, to the marine life.
Yep.
You know, we see it. We just need to do something about it.
Right. And not pretend it's a hoax.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But there are still people pushing that hoax.
Yeah, well, I want to push them.
I thought, you know, being together, coming together, maybe we'll come together
Yeah.
if the planet gets really bad, because the people who are polluting it will have to do something.
Yeah, they'll have to do something because the planet is talking back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The planet is talking back. So, how about you, Chanel? What are now doing this project brings to your mind about the theme and things that are happening in it?
Well, you know, as we just mentioned, that we're all connected and we're all interconnected. And as far as, you know, the idea of bringing a sense of attention to this matter that you would think that people already know about, and you know, I feel like people are aware of it to a certain degree, but it may be a situation that until it truly affects them individually, that's when maybe something, you know, may be done about it. So I think us, you know, always, or us trying to bring that focus and bring that attention to this matter in such a way, in a more artistic way, if you will, that could possibly spark a different conversation, spark a different perspective for people to actually say, okay, so I may not be able to solve this global problem by myself, but what can I do on my own individual basis to contribute to, you know, actually adding to the world versus taken away from it.
Yes.
And so I can always appreciate, you know, any type of, because I'm a yoga instructor, so I appreciate anything that has something to do with wellness and anything that has something to do with environmental wellness as well, because we live here. And it's not like, you know, the water and the oceans and marine life is on a whole different planet and we're on this planet. We're all connected. So if that gets messed up, we get messed up.
Yes. Yes.
And unfortunately, by that time, it may be too late
yeah.
for us to do anything about it.
Yeah. So our course of action, you know, now one little thing we can do, whatever the one little thing we can do is, one of them maybe just make a commitment to no matter what, regardless of the circumstances, use a recyclable, reusable bag, right?
Yeah.
That's not hard. You know, keep them in your car, because I still see plastic flying around everywhere. And I've been, a perpetrator sometime, and I have to catch myself like, no, get right. But a little thing like that, styrofoam has been taken away by and large, but I still see styrofoam, right? You know, so I appreciate, all of us, and that's what I want everybody to say. If I can just do one thing, what would it be? And just stick with that one thing. And if the millions of the people in the world did one thing, just one thing, I think we could resolve a lot of this struggle that the earth is having.
This is one thing.
This
Right
is
here.
this is
Yeah.
my one thing. Okay, good.
And it seems to me when I sit down to write poetry, I have a different attitude than I had years ago. That it's the thing I can do.
Yes,
Maybe no one will ever listen, but
it's
but
the thing we
I
can do.
yeah.
Yes, I appreciate that. And that's what I love about artists so much, is that the thing we do is share a message. The thing we do is to reflect the environment that we're in, and we're kind of charged with doing that. Like, a society has to have a conscience, and it must, then it'll have to be the artist who do it, right? Because nobody else is going to do it, right? And they don't talk about artists as warriors and brave people, but artists are very brave people, because we will say things publicly that nobody else wants to
Well,
say.
we're really lucky here in Buffalo.
Yes.
Because we have great musicians,
Yes.
and we participated in that jazz.
Oh, yes, the
uh,
1968 50th anniversary.
5
yes.
weeks worth of music and poetry. And so
Yes, yes.
forth. And nobody here makes any money at it, but,
No.
but they're out there doing it every day.
Doing it every day.
Because you love the art,
Yeah.
Yes.
the creative process. Yeah.
Yes. And you're not quite sure, like if I didn't have it, I'm not quite sure what I would do. Like you try to think, I don't know, I could be something, I don't know what, but I'd have to be something, I just don't know what it would be, right? But, and like you say, you know, if you're not in here, you're in here to express yourself in a lot of different ways. And I think you're a yoga instructor, so you're telling that mind, body, spirit story, and talk a little bit about your practice.
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
So I'm the founder and owner of Afro Chick Yoga. It is a mobile yoga service here in Western New York. We service the full Western New York area. We specialize in providing beginner-based yoga, meditation, and recently coaching services, life coaching, mindset wellness, fitness coaching, things of that nature. And we've been working over the last 6 years providing the idea of wellness and promoting that idea of wellness to all sorts of people. And it was very important to me to create something that spoke to the wellness factor because oftentimes, especially in the Black and brown communities, that's not something that's spoken highly of.
Yes.
Or even the idea of accessibility. That's why we are mobile, because we want to create the idea that we want to eliminate all the excuses and create the idea of accessibility, because a lot of times we feel like we are helpless because we don't have access.
Yeah.
So just kind of moving with that model in my business is very important to, to our bottom line and when it comes down to health and wellness. And knowing that it is accessible to you. And so any way that I personally, as an individual, can spread the idea of wellness and awareness and mindset and things of that nature, I'm always, always jumping on that opportunity to do so. But yes, with Afro Chick Yoga, we specialize in the beginner-based yoga. We do different styles of yoga, traditional yoga, the vinyasa, the hatha, the yin. We also do more contemporary yoga. We do kids yoga, we do chair yoga, we do trap yoga. So we do all sorts of things. We currently have a yoga class series going on at the Frank Lloyd Wright's Martin House.
Oh, yes.
Yes, so we're going to be there throughout the summer. We're also doing a couple of classes at Fitness at Canalside. So definitely check us out, afrochickyoga.com, or just follow us on our socials at Afrochick Yoga. But like I said, it was always about promoting the idea of wellness because I don't think that's spoken of enough. I really, really don't think that we really, really adopt and really allow that idea of wellness from head to toe to really come into us. A lot of times we just put the focus on the physical portion of it, but there's so much more of us that we have to focus on to make this a whole life experience. And so even, like I say, bringing it back to the environment that we're living in, if it's trashed, how is that going to affect us mentally
yes.
and spiritually and physically?
Yeah.
So once again, this idea of connection and interconnection, it really is a thing. And I think, bringing the idea of awareness to the fact that we are all connected in every facet of every way is super, super, super important.
Yes. Well, you heard it from Yemanya.
Preach, girl, preach.
But it's so true, that mind, body, spirit connection. We are chronically having these discussions about mental health and emotional health, and we've had a lot to recover from. We've had COVID to recover from. We've had natural disasters to recover from. I think our nation is still, and they don't want to acknowledge it, sort of quivering from the events of 9/11. I think we went into a state of trauma and we never really fully emerged from it.
Agreed.
We carry some of that paranoia still with us. So I think, again, that's where artists can make a big difference in allowing people to come and find a place, a safe place where they can think and reflect and talk about and perhaps participate. I mean, you're talking about all different kinds of yoga. That means regardless of age, regardless of ability, I'll come to where you are. I'm giving you an opportunity to explore and cultivate yourself
Right.
and nurture.
Right.
So I think those things are important, and how we will engage and treat one another. So, do you have thoughts about how we can respond to these kinds of things at all?
Yeah, I do. You know, we can stop using so much plastic.
Yeah.
Yes.
So much plastic.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've started doing is when I do my laundry, there are what they call eco sheets of detergent that just dissolve in the water. So they come in like a paper or cardboard kind of box. And that's what I started using now, as opposed to a jug of laundry detergent,
Yes.
that kind of thing. I try and carry my own water.
Okay.
Stop, buying bottles of water. I mean, I do sometimes on occasion
Yeah,
do that
yeah,
when I
yeah.
need to, but those are the little things that I try to do to help the environment.
Yes.
So,
That laundry thing is a big one.
yeah,
That's a really big one. And I'm going to say replenishing your water bottle is a big thing too, because I've looked out and the images that I see of trash in the oceans, there are always water bottles, water bottles floating around. So, your own thermos and refilling it, and glass. I see glass is
Right,
making a
right.
comeback.
paper bags
Paper bags
are coming
making a
back.
comeback.
Right. And when it comes to water bottles, think how much money you save not
Yeah.
buying a bottle of
Oh
water.
my God.
That is
Yes,
true.
yes, it's true. It's
That is
true. So there you have. I mean, you're hearing, folks. There are little things you can do that make a really big difference. A really big. I'm going to do that. I'm going to find how to get that laundry. I live with a 13-year-old boy, so laundry is a part of my life.
I'll give you the information.
I would appreciate that. I really would appreciate that. So, how about you, David? Do you have thoughts on anything else like that?
Well, I just keep thinking about what you said. We used to be, when we worked out, it was a very selfish activity.
Yes.
You went in there and you were going to get physically fit. Now it's a shared activity.
Yes.
I see my daughter going to fitness centers in ways I never would have, because there's a different attitude now.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't have any particular insight into what what I might do, but I see those pictures of the plastic in the ocean swirling around in pods and then being swallowed by our heroes.
Yes, yes, yes. And it's a bigger job than we imagine. I put in a shameless plug for public television and for the Smithsonian Channel and the History Channel, because they're going to bring information to you. I appreciate many people like watching these, reality shows, whatever they do.
Whatever
or,
they
you
do. They attract a large number of people.
right. Well, sidebar, I heard that the first batch of reality shows came about as a result of a former writer's strike, and that the writers were kind of snubbing their nose. The producers, television producers, were kind of snubbing their nose and say, "Oh, we don't need you to write. We're going to go get the family of A, the family of X. We're going to make a reality show," which is how they've been on so long. Like this Big Brother thing, and Naked and Afraid, like this plethora of reality shows. So once they made one or two, then it seemed to catch on. And
Cheaper to produce.
They're cheaper to
Yeah.
produce.
cheaper, right, exactly. So I kind of banished them just by virtue of they were born wrong. In spite of a writer. No, we don't do anything in spite of a writer.
A famous former leader of this country actually spent a lot of time on a so-called reality.
I know. Like, bang. Or I guess we say you're fired, right? That would have
That's
to be. So, anyway, I'm a big fan of National Geographic, and so the things that I learned, a good friend of mine who has really taught me more respect for animals and their contributions is the former executive director of the SPCA. Her name is Barbara Carr. And she gave me this book, and I'm going to show it. It's May 2021, National Geographic. And you can still access this information, but it will give you some remarkable insight. And I say you can access it because sometimes you want to maybe hear about it. You want to,
I like that subtitle. It's they're playful, social, and curious, just like us.
yes, you can have that. I have some more. So I, you know, learning and watching her, because we traveled together to China and to Vienna when we were working on ways to influence the education of women in countries where educating women was not a top priority, and how we could convey messages to them about expanding their education without disrupting their households, without making the male in their household unhappy. And so she had ways of expressing how you would work with animals and learn things. And I would talk through culture. My counter writer was Craig Santier from El Museo. And we had things like if you're braiding, you can teach mathematics. And that's not interrupting anybody because you can count, right? If you're cooking, you can create a recipe. That's not upsetting anybody in your household. How can we do measures? If you're sewing, how can we talk to? So we had to find interesting ways to share education without being disruptive. Singing could be a way. So you can talk about, oh, how many words do you have in this verse of the song? That's not going to ruffle any feathers, right? And not only that, but the women could do it among themselves. It didn't have to be shared in public knowledge. It could be something that they did. And so, you know, I think about the subtle ways that we can make changes that can influence a life that don't necessarily have to be so thoroughly broadcast, but just sort of integrated. And she was instrumental in helping me understand and gave me much greater respect for animals. I mean, like, I've contributed to the life of animals now because I thought they were cool, and I loved going to the zoo, and I want to watch them, and they're adorable, yada, yada. But I never had what I would call deep, heartfelt concern for their long-term survival. Like, I didn't want the rainforest to go down and kill the tigers. And I mean, you know, I had compassion at that level, but a more significant appreciation of their intellectual capacity, of their reasoning capacity, of their emotional capacity. And when
We were taught when I was growing up that they didn't have those things.
right, okay, that they just exist. And I thought, well, where does the energy come from? And there had been an earlier discussion. We talked about the difference. Some people believe that animals have souls, that they don't have souls. But all I know is that they have an energy and they respond. They respond, and it's not by rote, right? And the more people are paying attention, that they're learning, there's a sensitivity. And the thing that I really appreciated about whales that you can find out, and you can go to Nat Geo, people, you don't have to take my word for it, The Secret Life of Whales and other dolphins, they have language structures. They sing. They're pods that have their own distinct dialect. I mean, they're complex. They have a special way that they treat their young. They have aunties and nannies. Same with wolf packs. I mean, there are structures, and by the grace of God, we don't have to live in the woods and worry about, you know, the wolves chasing us for lunch. But we do, you know. But we do have to worry now about violence. Are you going to go to the mall and get shot?
Right.
Right?
Right.
I mean, the most significant difference, I think, between the what we'd like to refer to as the lower animal kingdom is that when they engage in hunting, it's for a reason.
Right.
No animal is going to go and wipe out another whole herd of geese, duck, whatever, just for sport. Humans are the only people that I know kill for sport. Like, what is that? You know, so I leave that to say who's smarter, right? Who's smaller? So,
A good friend of mine, who, part of an experiment years ago, where she was pregnant and there were other women who weren't, and they went into a pond where there were dolphins, and the dolphins came to the pregnant women and sat with them, and
wow.
it was as if they were nurturing.
Yes, yes. I'm telling you, the animal kingdom they have a respect and value for life that we don't seem to have. Soul or no soul, whatever your opinion is, they're ferocious about trying to protect their family units, whatever those family units are. And some of our human families can be hit and miss, right? So, anyway, folks, you've been listening to our conversation. I'm here with John Vines, David Landry, and Chanel Tillery. These are all actors in the upcoming production of The Whale Speaks that are going to be taking place. It's going to be taking place on Saturday, August 5th at Shea 710. We're encouraging you to come and join us for an interesting evening. I'm sure you're going to love the show. It's going to look pretty. It's going to sound pretty. It's got a great message. The goal is for you to leave feeling positive that you as an individual can make a contribution and offer you more information about the importance of the life of whales, the influence of the ocean on our weather patterns, that we're a witness day to day about the influence of the oceans on our weather patterns, because they have been changing and will continue to change.
Right.
So, for information, you can call the Shays box office at 716-847-0850. You can go to Ticketmaster.com or you can go to shays.org. So that's where we are.
And so I can add to that. If folks didn't realize, it's one night only.
That's a very important part.
It's one night only. Now, I'm going to put out in the ether that someone's going to want to pick this up for a longer run.
Okay.
But at the moment, it's just the one night only.
Yes, that's an important part. Thank you, John. One night only. So come and see it and then demand we bring it back.
Right.
So thank you for that. And we're going to wind down here. Any last comments from anyone? I'll start over here with Chanel Tillery.
Really no last comments, really just, reiterating the fact that it's all about awareness and the awareness that you have, not just for yourself, but for the environment that you are actually in, and realizing that we are truly connected, and you'll see how we are connected, especially after they see this production.
Great. David?
I'd re-emphasize that all of that's true, but it's still entertaining.
Yes.
It's really fun to hear the language. And
Yes, yes. And, David is a poet and does a lot of readings and things around town. So if you see his name somewhere as a poet, go listen. We know if you see Chanel's name somewhere, go see her. How about you, John?
I would just like to say I kind of ditto what was already said, especially by Chanel. We are all connected, and hopefully this play will help expand consciousness around the earth as a whole.
Yes, yes. Thank you. So if you see John Vines, Vines, you see his name somewhere, go see him.
Right.
Okay, so that's it. Thank you all for coming again. We're talking about The Whale Speaks. My name is Celeste Lawson. I'm here at Think Twice Radio, made possible by our good friend Richard Wicca. And I certainly invite you to come back. I'll be back with the part 3 with more people from the cast. But in the meantime, have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
well, I hope enough people hear that. Can we get? Is it too late to say get a copy of that to put on